We all know that feeling, right? Trying to hit those high notes and feeling like you're gonna pass out from lack of air.
Yeah, it's like trying to run a marathon after only jogging around the block.
Exactly. And we've gotten so many questions about breathing exercises for singers. So we're diving into some research today to figure out how to breathe like a pro.
It's more than just taking a deep breath, that's for sure.
No kidding. We've got this article from K&M Music School, and they actually talk about the sheer difference in air intake between speaking and singing.
It's incredible. They say that while speaking might use half a liter of air, trained singers can inhale up to 2.5 liters.
Wait, 2.5 liters? Seriously?
Yeah, it's a huge difference.
No wonder I'm always gasping for air by the second verse.
Right. It just goes to show that singing utilizes your respiratory system in a completely different way. Like the diaphragm, for example.
That's the dome-shaped muscle under the lungs, right?
Yep, exactly.
Yeah.
For most people, it's just passively involved in breathing. But singers learn to actively engage it, almost like a piston, to draw in massive amounts of air.
So it's about capacity, but it's also about control.
Absolutely. It's not just about how much air you take in, but how you use it to fuel your voice.
So how do we even begin to do that?
Well, think about the intercostal muscles between your ribs.
Those always feel so weird to think about.
I know, right? But they're actually super important for singers. They basically act like the supporting beams of your rib cage, expanding and contracting, allowing your lungs to take in and release air with incredible precision.
Wow, so it's like a whole other level of muscle control.
Exactly. And that precision is what allows singers to hit those sustained high notes, do all those vocal runs, and just project their voices effortlessly.
It's pretty amazing when you think about it.
It really is. And just like an athlete trains their body for peak performance, singers need to develop their respiratory muscles to avoid strain and really maximize their vocal potential.
So we're talking stamina, power, finesse, all through targeted breathing exercises.
You got it.
Okay, so we're training our lungs like athletes, but how does that actually change the sound of our voice when we sing?
That's the coolest part. Think about it this way. Your vocal cords are like those reeds in a woodwind instrument, right?
Yeah.
They need that air pressure to make the sound.
So instead of just like blowing air out, I'm using my breath to shape the sound.
Yeah. Consistent airflow is what lets your vocal cords vibrate without that,
That shaky, uncontrolled sound.
Yeah. It's like a steady beam of light versus a flickering candle. That's where these breathing exercises come in. It's about controlling your breath, both in and out.
In this article from K&M Music School, they actually list 5 exercises: deep breathing, diaphragmatic breathing, then there's pursed lip breathing, even alternate nostril breathing, and then good old sighing breaths. Have you heard of all of these?
Definitely. They're pretty common. Let's see. Deep breathing and diaphragmatic breathing, those are about building that foundational control. Like you want to imagine filling up a balloon from the bottom.
Ah, so you feel those muscles between your ribs expanding.
Exactly. Now, pursed lip breathing, this one might feel a little strange at first, but it's really good for controlling your exhale. It's like, imagine you're blowing out birthday candles, but you have to make it last forever.
I can see how that would help with singing longer phrases without running out of breath.
Totally. And that's where you start to see those big benefits. Better range, more stamina, and you're way less likely to hurt your voice.
Okay, let's pause there for a second, because those benefits, those are game changers for singers, right? Hitting those high notes is the dream.
Oh, absolutely. When you're doing these breathing exercises consistently, it can really transform your singing. Think about range. To hit those high notes, you need a ton of breath support.
I can definitely relate to that feeling of like straining to reach a note and not having enough air.
And when you've trained your breathing, it's like giving your voice the fuel it needs to get up there.
So not just hitting the high notes, but doing it safely. I mean, I've heard those stories about singers having to cancel tours because they've strained their voice.
Oh, yeah. It's heartbreaking, and it can be a career ender.
Exactly. And it really shows why these breathing habits are so important for singers.
It's about singing smarter, not harder, so you don't hurt your voice.
Okay, so what about those other 2 exercises from the K&M article? Alternate nostril breathing and sighing breaths.
Right. Those are great ones, too.
I will admit, that whole nostril thing sounds more like meditation than singing to me.
It does, doesn't it? But remember, singing isn't just physical, it's mental, too. If you're stressed or anxious, it's going to affect your singing.
It's all connected, right? Mind, body, breath.
Exactly. Alternate nostril breathing is surprisingly good at calming you down and helping you focus.
It's like hitting the reset button before you perform.
Exactly.
Okay, I'm sold. And what about sighing breaths? It seems too simple.
I know, right? but it works. Think about it. When you sigh, you're naturally releasing tension.
It's like your whole body just relaxes.
And that's what we want for singing. Relaxed muscles and a free breath.
This has been a really fascinating deep dive. I feel like I need to completely rethink how I breathe when I sing. But how do we actually make these exercises a habit? It's easy to say we'll do them, but harder to actually do it every day, right?
You're telling me. We all struggle with that.
Right.
But honestly, even a few minutes every day can make a big difference. And K&M had some good tips on this, like schedule your practice time, like it's a doctor's appointment.
I love that. Put it in my calendar.
And find a place where you can just focus on your breathing, even if it's just for 5 minutes.
It's about creating that space for yourself mentally and physically.
Yes, exactly.
So, for all of you listening, it's time to breathe deeper and unlock your best singing voice.